Jadhi, the Malay Pirate. Reading from Great Pirate Stories by Joseph Louis French, as read to you by me, Mars. Long before that action with the English men-of-war which drove me to Singapore, I sailed in a fine fleet of prayers belonging to the Rajah of Johor, Sultan Mahmud Shah. We were all then very rich. Such numbers of beautiful wives and such feasting. But above all, we had a great many most holy men in our force. When the proper monsoon came, we proceeded to sea to fight the Bugis men of Celebes, and Chinamen bound from Borneo and the Celebes to Java. For you must remember our Rajah was at war with them. Jadhi was always maintained that the proceedings in which he had been engaged partook of a purely warlike and not of a piratical character. Our 13 prayers had all been fitted out in and about Singapore. I wish you could have seen him, Tohan. Which apparently means, sir. Okay. I wish you could have seen him, sir. These prayers we see here are nothing to him. Such brass guns, such long pendants, such creases. Daggers. Our chiefs were indeed great men. Sailing along as high as Patani, we then crossed over to Borneo. 2 Ilanoon prayers acting as pilots and reached a place called Sambas, West Borneo. There we fought the Chinese and Dutchmen who ill-treat our countrymen and are trying to drive the Malays out of that country. Gold dust and slaves in large quantities were here taken, most of the latter being our countrymen of Sumatra and Java who are captured and sold to the planters and miners of the Dutch settlements. Do you mean to say, I asked, that the Dutch countenance such traffic? The Hollanders, replied Jadhi. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Alright. Replied Jadhi. Have been the bane of the Malay race. No one knows the amount of villainy, the bloody cruelty of their system toward us. They drive us into our prayers to escape their taxes and laws, and then declare us pirates and put us to death. There are natives in our crew, Tohan, of Sumatra and Java, of Bianca and Borneo. Ask them why they hate the Dutchman, why they would kill a Dutchman. It is because the Dutchman is a false man, not like the white man, Englishman. The Hollander stabs in the dark. He is a liar. Oh, we've got racism here. However, from Borneo we sailed to Biliton, an island between Bangka and Borneo, and Bianca, and there waited for some large junks that were expected. Our cruise had been so far successful, and we feasted away, smoking opium and eating white rice. At last our scouts told us that a junk was in sight. She came, a lofty-sided one of Phocaean. We knew these Amoy men would fight like tiger cats for their sugar and silks, and as the breeze was fresh, we only kept her in sight by keeping close inshore and following her. Not to frighten the Chinamen, we did not hoist sail, but made our slaves pull. Oh, said Jadhi, warming up with a recollection of the event. Oh, it was fine to feel what brave fellows we then were. Toward night, we made sail and closed upon the junk, and at daylight it fell a stark calm, and we went at our prize like sharks. All our fighting men put on their war dresses, the Ilanoons danced their war dance, and all our gongs sounded as we opened out to attack her on different sides. But those Amoy men are pigs. They burnt joss paper, sounded their gongs, and received us with such showers of stones, hot water, long pikes, and 1 or 2 well-directed shots that we hauled off to try the effect of our guns. Sorry though we were to do it, for it was sure to bring the Dutchmen upon us. Bang! Bang! We fired at them. And they at us. 3 hours did we persevere. And whenever we tried to board, the Chinese beat us back every time. for her side was as smooth and as high as a wall, with galleries overhanging. We had several men killed and hurt. A council was called, a certain charm was performed by one of our holy men, a famous chief, and 20 of our best men devoted themselves to effecting a landing on the junk's deck, when our lookout prahus made the signal that the Dutchmen were coming, and sure enough some Dutch gunboats came sweeping round the headland. In a moment we were round and pulling like demons for the shores of Billiton, the gunboats in chase of us, and the Chinese howling with delight. The sea breeze freshened and brought up a schooner-rigged boat very fast. We had been at work 24 hours and were heartily tired. Our slaves could work no longer, so we prepared for the Hollanders. They were afraid to close upon us and commenced firing at a distance. This was just what we wanted. We had guns as well as they, and by keeping up the fight till after dark, we felt sure of escape. The Dutchmen, however, knew this too, and kept closing gradually upon us. And when they saw our prahus bailing out water and blood, they knew we were suffering and cheered like devils. We were desperate. Surrender to Dutchmen we never would. We closed together for mutual support and determined at last, if all hope of escape ceased, to run our prahus ashore, burn them, and lie hid in the jungle till a future day. But a brave Datu with his shattered prahus saved us. He proposed to let the Dutchmen board her, stab with a dagger all that did so, and then trust to God for his escape. It was done immediately. We all pulled a short distance away and left the brave Datu's prahu like a wreck abandoned. How the Dutchmen yelled and fired into her. The slaves and cowards jumped out of the prahu, but our braves kept quiet. At last, as we expected, one gunboat dashed alongside of their prize and boarded her in a crowd. Then was the time to see how the Malay men could fight. The daggers was worth 20 swords, and the Dutchmen went down like sheep. We fired to cover our countrymen, who as soon as their work was done jumped overboard and swam to us, but the brave Datu, with many more, died as brave Malays should do, running amok against a host of enemies. The gunboats were quite scared by this punishment, and we lost no time in getting away as rapidly as possible. But the accursed schooner, by keeping more in the offing, held the wind and preserved her position, signaling all the while for the gunboats to follow her. We did not want to fight any more. It was evidently an unlucky day. On the opposite side of the channel to that we were on, the coral reefs and shoals would prevent the Hollanders following us. It was determined at all risks to get there in spite of the schooner. With the first of the land wind in the evening, we set sail before it and steered across for Bianca. The schooner placed herself in our way like a clever sailor so as to turn us back, but we were determined to push on, take her fire, and run all risks. It was a sight to see us meeting one another, but we were desperate. We had killed plenty of Dutchmen. It was their turn now. I was in the second prahu, and well it was so, for when the headmost one got close to the schooner, the Dutchman fired all his guns into her, and knocked her at once into a wrecked condition. We gave one cheer, fired our guns, and then pushed on for our lives. Ah, sir, it was a dark night indeed for us. 3 prahus in all were sunk, and the whole force dispersed. To add to our misfortunes, a strong gale sprang up. We were obliged to carry canvas. Our prahu leaked from shot holes. The sea continually broke into her. We dared not run into the coral reefs on such a night, and bore up for the Straits of Malacca. The wounded writhed and shrieked in their agony, and we had to pump, we fighting men, and bail like slaves. By 2 in the morning we were all worn out. I felt indifferent whether I was drowned or not, and many threw down their buckets and sat down to die. The wind increased, and at last, as if to put us out of our misery, just such a squall as this came down upon us. I saw it was folly contending against our fate, and followed the general example. "God is great!" we exclaimed, but the Rajah of Johore came and reproved us. "Work until daylight," he said, "and I will ensure your safety." We pointed at the black storm which was approaching. "Is that what you fear?" he replied, and going below he produced just such a wooden spoon, and did what you've seen me do. And I tell you, my captain, as I would if the company sahib stood before me, that storm was nothing, and that we had a dead calm 1 hour afterwards and were saved. God is great, and Muhammad is his prophet. But there is no charm like the Johor one for killing the wind. Okay. Alright, I think we're done with the readings today. That was interesting. Well, that felt about as natural as Texan accent for Sherlock Holmes. I think the voice of Billy Bones may not have been the best choice for this story.